We interrupt this program by A.T. Hagan, section titled Getting By. "Pass the okra, please," Robert said, and Heather handed him the bowl. As he spooned out another helping onto his plate, he remarked, "I reckon it was inevitable. A month ago, the U.S. was the global superpower and carried a big stick. Now we're hurt, and the whole world knows it. Everybody who wants to jump someone else is going to try it now that they think we can't do anything about it, nor back up what's left of the UN if they decide to interfere." Lisa observed, it was probably chance that China was the first to act in a way the president decided he could not afford to ignore. Robert nodded in agreement. Now he has to slap her down hard so that the smaller dogs will stay under the porch, or every one of them will come out and start yapping at our heels. Likely we could handle any one of them, but not every one at the same time. Truer words were never spoken. Anne asked, "Do you think it might go nuclear?" "What can we do if it does?" He swallowed a mouthful of okra, then said, "If China gets away with taking Taiwan, then we'll probably see others make their moves right quick, so he's going to do whatever it takes to convince anyone and everyone that we still can. Don't know what we've lost in the way of ships and planes, but it's been more than 3 weeks and we haven't heard from Carla. She was supposed to be in port at Norfolk about the time of the strike, according to her last letter, so we may have lost ships that were at the dock. We do know the East Coast bases were destroyed and probably the Gulf and Pacific Coast bases were damaged. Resupply is probably going to be tough, so the president is likely going to be reluctant to take major losses in a toe-to-toe stand-up fight with China. Wouldn't surprise me at all if he ordered nukes." John took a long swallow of his iced tea and observed, "Well, if we zap them, we zap them. I can't see much we can do to get ready for it here that we're not doing already. I don't think China has the same throw weight of nukes that we have, so I don't think she'd attempt a general exchange, but if she does, we're not downwind of any likely targets. An EMP burst could really hurt us long term, but we're living with on-again, off-again power and telephones now as it is. If she did nuke mainland U.S. targets, she's got to know we'd well and truly unload on her. Wouldn't surprise me if Russia didn't move in on some supplies, some of her western and northern territory once the fallout settled. Probably going to mean fuel and other supplies are going to get even tighter. Surely it's got to have rained monstrous amounts in China too. You'd think she'd be too distracted to be worrying with Taiwan." The conversation went into deep shade, so for a time everyone attended to the matter of their plates. "Daddy," Melinda spoke up, "Timmy Daniels tells me that a market is starting up to the old fire station at Archer. Do you think we can go tomorrow? It's supposed to open at 9 a.m. on Saturday morning and Sunday afternoon after church if enough people show up." John considered the idea as he had another forkful of peas and rice. He swallowed and replied, "Mel, we don't have much to sell or trade at a market right now. Going to have to hold on to what feed we've got, and it's for sure the garden is shot, and we may not even get a fall garden in this year. With daylight being so short from the cloud cover and range being so poor from the rain, the hens aren't laying like they should, and we're pretty much either eating what they lay or are trading the surplus eggs already." Mel's face fell and she turned back to her plate. There was silence at the table. "But," John continued after a moment, "I suppose we could at least go and look. Sooner or later this rain's got to end and we'll eventually be producing more food than we're going to need. I hope, anyways. It'd be good to have a place to trade or sell it. Not looking forward to a 10-mile round trip in the rain, but I guess we can go. We'll go Saturday morning this time, and if it looks like it's going to take off, we'll go Sunday afternoons afterwards. I've had a hankering to go back to church, and we can attend the morning services first. At least for the folks in the country, I think more of them would come on a Sunday, so they could go to church and not have to make 2 trips into town since they're going to have to walk or ride a bicycle or horse." At this, Mel, Heather, and Anne and Lisa smiled. John glanced at his father, who quirked an eyebrow but said nothing. "Reckon y'all have been feeling a little confined here, it looks like. It'll be good to get out. 10 miles on a bicycle in the rain, though." "Can't we drive, Daddy?" Melinda asked. No, honey, we can't, John explained. I did have fuel stored before the impact, but we've used a fair amount of it. With no knowing when we'll be able to get more, what we've got is going to have to be saved for necessary work and emergencies. Radio says that limited fuel shipments are supposed to start this week and that rationing would be started for those folks who have a demonstrated need. Lisa here, being one of the primary clinic personnel in Archer, ought to be in line for a fuel ration, I'd think. If we're careful and conservative, we might be able to get by on that, but it's too soon to tell. Shouldn't take us more than 45 minutes or so to get to Archer on the bikes, even in the rain. We can take clothing in dry bags and change there. The mood lifted somewhat at the table, most especially when Anne and Heather brought out blueberry pie they'd made for dessert. As she handed him his slice, Heather asked, Uncle John, would you teach me to shoot a rifle like Mel? John glanced at Lisa, who nodded, so he said, Well, sure, honey, I'll teach you to shoot. We can start on the basics tonight before you go to bed if you like. Taking an interest in shooting? Before Heather could reply, Mel spoke up and said, Stevie Daniels said he won't take anyone hunting with him if they can't shoot, then took a bite of pie. Heather went red in the face and whirled around to stare daggers at Melinda. A chuckle rose from the table, and he said with a glint in his eye, I see. Well then, in that case, I'll not only have to teach you how to shoot, but how to embarrass a young man when you can outshoot him.